Bishop f4 is on the right track, but it's unnecessary. The move is castles. You do nothing. That's the answer. You're like, what? What about knight takes e5? Well, this loses the queen. You know the drill. Bishop takes f7 and queen takes d8. We actually gain a very important positional trump card, which is then used essentially to win the game. Yeah, the d6 square is incredibly weak. He says, big fan, by the way. Thank you. Okay, what should we do now? How should we proceed? e5 is attacked. Well, yeah, obviously knight f3. Knight f3. Develop and defend. No shenanigans with queen h5 or queen f3. It's too early for that. Queen h5, g6. There's nothing there for the taking. We need to develop first. Notice how hard this pawn is making it for black to do anything. Yeah, f4 is too weakening. It's not that f4 has an issue. It's just that it doesn't develop a piece. It blocks the bishop. It weakens the king. It does all these small bad things, and we need to focus on our development instead. g6. Okay, what now? We are tempi ahead. Yeah, we're 3-4 tempi ahead. Now, we don't change our behavior because of that. I know a lot of you are tempted by knight g5. But knight g5 fails for multiple reasons. One of them is knight takes e5. Have you forgotten about the pawn on e5? Okay, so this is really interesting, right? Because we can play bishop g5, but the way that I think about it, I'm not sure exactly where this bishop needs to go yet. I'm not even sure we need to develop the bishop anytime soon. And this is a hard concept for me to explain. But I think we should start by castling because that is a move we know we want to make, right? We know that we're not going to regret castling. But we might regret putting the bishop on f4 because maybe black will play e6 and then we'll want to go bishop g5. Or conversely, maybe black will go d6 and we'll want to play bishop f4. Make the moves that you know you have to make first. Okay, so now there's a little more clarity in the situation. Our pawn on e5 is attacked. How should we defend it? Well, we can defend it in a couple of ways. Rook e1 is a great move. But if you guys insist on developing the bishop, we'll do it. Bishop f4. If you guys feel a little bit like the bishop is being left alone at home while the other pieces are partying, okay. We're also preventing d6 because then we take knight h6. Good stuff by our opponent. He's trying to develop. Fortunately, black is so cramped that we can basically win a piece here. Very good. Queen d2. But do you see the follow-up after knight f5? I gave you a pass, but what's the follow-up after knight f5? g4, very good. g4 traps the knight. That's it. If knight goes back to g8, then it's really over. Knight f5, and boom. There is the extra piece, ladies and gentlemen. Now, perhaps some of you are thinking, well, how do you know that I can weaken my king like this? Well, first of all, a piece is a pretty big damn deal, right? Winning a piece is usually worth slightly weakening your king for. But the other thing is just that black is so passive and so cramped that how can he even possibly hope to exploit this slight weakening of our king? Yeah, knight d4 takes. Okay, black should have taken on e5 here, by the way. That would have been the lesser evil. Now it's just a full piece. And we preserve all of the trumps of our position. And all the Bidens. Okay. What should we do? Well, again, we have to prioritize. We have two priorities as I see it. Our first is that there's this little X-ray going on. It's pissing me off. It's annoying me. And because we're up a piece, I can do whatever the heck I want. So a move like queen e3 comes to mind. The other thing we haven't done is we haven't activated our rooks. Okay, we can do anything in any order. The other last thing I'll say is the g4 pawn is undefended. The g4 pawn is undefended, so ideally I would like to play h3 at some point. Now you can't do everything at once. So I vote we start by moving the queen off and unpinning it. That just seems to be the safest way to continue, and then we'll see. Makes sense? We're also potentially aiming for bishop h6, which would trade black's only piece that's not on an initial square. Or on the 8th rank, rather. I don't like h4. No. We don't need to. We don't need this. We don't need a pawn attack. We've done the job with our pieces. I'll explain why afterward. Okay, rook ad1 is a great move here, I think. Yeah, we could have played bishop h6. It doesn't matter. We're so winning here, anything wins. But let's just be methodical. Yeah, bishop h6, whatever you want to do here. Knight d5. Okay, queen a5. All right, now not bishop h6 because it blunders e5. Okay, proposal, we centralize our knight in preparation for bishop h6. How do we do that? Yeah, we could play rook d5 too. But I like knight d5. Let's go. Center. Pieces in the center. Also intercepting the queen's contact with d5, so bishop h6 is once again possible and likely. And then we go for mate. Yeah, so here we can fork the rooks with knight c7, but it's not even necessary. I think black is going to resign. Yeah, I mean, he resigns. There's nothing to play for at this point. We can go here. We can go b4 and basically trap the queen. Doesn't quite trap the queen, but it comes very close. Smith-Morra, ladies and gentlemen. Smith-Morra, ladies and gentlemen. Knight f6 is bad. Now, a couple of words to the wise about the Smith-Morra. There is no refutation. My recommendation, if you're a Sicilian player, is actually to decline it and go knight f6. It's not in my interest to say that because we're playing with white, but I think the safest and the most reputable is to decline and go knight f6. If you're accepting it, you can get Logozar's course on Chessable. He's got a very good repertoire that suggests accepting it. I think he gives like knight c6, e6, and a6. There's a couple of systems that give black a good position. It's not refuted. Logozar claims that black is slightly better. If he plays accurately, that's possible, but it's complicated. Just like the King's Gambit is not refuted. Right? Refuted, the Latvian Gambit is refuted. Refuted to me means like +2 or more. Slight edge doesn't mean refuted. Logozar lines are very complicated. That is true. Which is precisely why I propose for the time-constrained club player knight f6. d3 is bad. Don't go d3. This line is bad because white goes c4 and creates the bind. Benoni's also not refuted. No. Okay, so knight takes e3. If you really want to know, ask Mark. Tune into his stream. He streams like these hours, the degen hours. And you can ask him what he recommends. You can say I sent you. It's why so serious with 7 Ys. Knight f6 is a mistake, very common one, forgetting about e5. Back to g8. 2 tempi. This is already essentially losing for black for all intents and purposes. For all intents and purposes. e5 is bad. e5 is a common move among club players, but it's really, really bad. Who can explain to me why? I assume you mean black playing e5. f7 weakness, yeah, but it's already weak. Bishop c4. Look how much you're weakening the d5 square. Don't weaken central squares like that so casually. White has permanent outposts on d5. So the two setups that are generally recommended here for black are, well, you start with knight c6 either way. And now either e6 and then a6 or d6 and e6. And then later you play e5 much, much later. I'll let you guys investigate this on your own. So one important point is that if black had gone d6, who can tell me what white should do? This is a very important point. This is a very, very important point I'm about to make. What should white do? Knight e6. Some of you are jumping the gun here. Bishop f7. That doesn't really work. Taking on d6 is bad. You're helping black untangle. Bishop f4 is on the right track, but it's unnecessary. The move is castles. You do nothing. That's the answer. You're like, what? What about knight takes e5? Well, this loses the queen. You know the drill. Bishop takes f7 and queen takes d8. Okay, but black doesn't have to take on e5 with a knight. He can take with a pawn. The important thing to understand about the Smith-Morra is that even endgames are often terrible for black. Look at this endgame. If king takes d8, then bishop takes f7 is possible, or we can give a check. This is just like devastating. Whoops. And what about knight takes d8? Who can tell me what the devastating move is here? This is winning on the spot for white. Look around the board. What squares can you access? It's all about squares here. It's all about reaching squares. No, knight b5. Not knight d5 because of knight e6. Not knight d5 because of knight e6. But knight b5. Because knight e6, you can take it now. Knight heads for c7. Is there really no way to stop it? Yeah, there's really no way to stop it. There's a hilarious line. If king d7, get back, get mated. Boom. I'm sure some games have ended this way online. Black has no other defense. Okay, so don't rule out lines just because they get into an endgame. So g6, we castle. We go bishop f4. Okay, knight h6 exacerbates it, but as I was indicating many times, e6, we immediately pay attention to the d6 square. We had a game like this yesterday. We get one knight to d6. We get the other knight to g5. We bust everything open and we win the game easily. Knight h6, queen d2. Yeah, knight f5. And just remember this idea of going g4. Just winning the knight like that. This can come out of nowhere sometimes. This idea of like trapping the knight on the side of the board can come out of nowhere. Another idea that's similar, sometimes you have this situation and you can play queen d2 and trap the knight. Sorry. Sometimes you have this situation, you can play queen d2 and trap the knight like this. Understood? That's it. I mean, here, black should have played knight takes e5. And this actually is not so bad for black. Black has two pieces, 2 pawns for the piece. We have a lot of work to do. This loses immediately. One last thing. A lot of you were falling in love with h4, h5. Guys, you don't always need to push your pawns up in order to attack. Our pieces are already enough. And the thing is, like, black can just ignore you and, okay, congrats, you got a trade. But you've just spent 3 tempi doing something relatively meaningless. Understand why pawn storms are there in the first place. Generally, you storm with your pawns in order to weaken your opponent's king. Here, the king is already sufficiently exposed and we're up a piece. We don't need more than that. I'm not trying to be frustrated. But a lot of you are, when you think attack, you think h4, h5. And that association has to go. Attack doesn't mean h4, g4, h5, g5. So anyways, that's that, guys. I don't have much to say about this game.